Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing a review of Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson, which is a middle grade in verse that tackles some pretty tough issues of family illness. I was so moved by this book. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and I really wanted to share all of the ways that it really touched me and that I thought it tackled some really meaningful topics. So first, let me talk about what the story is about. So we follow ZJ, who is a kid in the late 1990s that has a very loving mom and dad. His dad is sort of his hero. He is a football player, very famous, lots of people love him, except that he starts to develop symptoms of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which is basically the kind of brain trauma that a lot of football players were getting in the 1990s and 2000s, but that not much was known about. So as his father is showing a lot of these worsening symptoms, things like memory loss and emotional outbursts and sort of an inability to live life as normal, ZJ's life changes, and he and his mom really have to figure out how they're going to deal with his dad's illness. There's so much in here that is just dealing with this very difficult topic in such a really moving and beautiful way. So now let me tell you about some of the ways that I think this book was just so powerful and so moving and so well done, beginning with the writing, which was just spectacular. Jacqueline Woodson has written this middle grade in verse, and I think that she's done an amazing job of using that verse to really convey such emotion. This is a very emotional book. It is filled with some very difficult topics, and you have a kid who's going through a lot. And I think that the use of verse just really conveys that emotion so strongly. It also is something that's important because ZJ is a musician. He's somebody who's writing his own songs, playing his own music, and so I think that verse really works with him as a character expressing himself. Just as important as the way that this is written is the content. There is so much in this book that is really, really moving and powerful. I think the core of this story really is about a father-son relationship. ZJ and his dad, the way that they interact, the way that that changes as his dad gets sick, all of this is wrapped up as the kind of core heart of the story. I especially really like the way that ZJ and his dad have such a close bond. They bond over the music that ZJ makes. His dad gives him ideas, they go back and forth, and also the music really represents a lot of the goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations for ZJ in his future. His dad is somebody for whom football is his life, it's his dream, but it's also his dream because that was the option that he had. He's somebody who loved music as well, and he wants a different future for his son. He wants one where his son can be as creative as he likes and follows his dreams. There's a lot in this story about the kind of sacrifices that parents make for the sake of their children, as well as what children do back for their parents. There's such a beautiful relationship between them, and it's really interesting to see how that's explored before his dad gets sick, as well as his dad's sickness continues to worsen. Just as the relationship between ZJ and his dad is explored really wonderfully in this story, I think that the relationship between ZJ and his friends and his family is also explored really beautifully. So much of this book is about support network. It's about those people that we rely on when things get pretty difficult in life. And ZJ has such a great friend group. They are people who are just with him through thick and thin. They understand him, they're there for him. They are really people who care so deeply and are willing to kind of go with him through these difficult times. It's such a beautiful exploration of that support network and really so beautiful to read about. Although these really beautiful relationships form the core of this story, a lot of this story really is also about illness and about medical treatment. There's quite a bit of this story that is actually devoted to examining what was happening in the late 90s, early 2000s with CTE. It was a disease that was not just poorly understood, but also something that was maybe swept under the rug, dismissed, hidden by a lot of the people who were meant to be there taking care of the football players. In this story, it really talks about how the family keeps trying to get help, trying to get doctors to understand what's going on, and so much of the information that they're being given is faulty or lacking or misleading. And there's a lot of different families of various football players who are talking to each other and coming together as a community trying to understand what's going on. So it's a really interesting exploration of the way that there's some unethical treatment of people who are getting sick. This book also discusses the difficulties of dealing with a seriously ill family member. ZJ and his mother and their friends and family are all dealing with a very difficult situation because CTE is a pretty serious illness, and it's also not something that is really something that could be treated. So a lot of this story is them dealing with that mental deterioration of ZJ's dad, the good days, the bad days, how to cope with that. And I think that this book does a really good job of modeling that way to still find joy and love in the moments where you can, even though, you know, it's such a difficult situation. And I think that this is something that is really meaningful and powerful both for an adult audience as well as a younger audience, that really anybody who's had an ill family member can relate to and understand. Overall, I think that this book is absolutely gorgeous. The writing is beautiful. The topic is so moving and really something that is relatable by so many different people. It's a very, very beautiful story that I hope everybody will pick up. If you have read this book, or if you have any thoughts, any comments, any recommendations, if you've read anything else by Jacqueline Woodson, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you.